The Energy Saving Opportunity Scheme, commonly known as Esos, affects about the top 7,000 UK companies. Basically, if the company falls under a certain criteria in terms of financial or the amount of staff they employ, then they will need to comply with the Esos regulations. Look at the set criteria, find out if you comply, and if you do comply, then we need to look at starting to collate the data for the process. During stage 1, collecting data was a very arduous process and took a huge amount of time and effort, and therefore going forward what we need to do is ensure that we can get that data, we can streamline it, and we can complete the process within the adequate time. One final lesson we can take from Esos is that there are recommendations within the assessment. These should really be looked at in greater detail. By installing these installations or using these recommendations, we can actually reduce consumption figures for not only utilities, but also we can reduce carbon emissions. In terms of recommendations we would make for buildings, we would be looking at areas such as the HVAC system, we'd be looking at ventilation systems, we'd be looking at the fabric of the building. Any ways we can improve the energy efficiency, we would look at providing these within the reports. In terms of recommendations for vehicles and looking at those figures, we'd probably recommend using data capturing methods, so looking at capturing mileage for vehicles, also looking at the travel plan. That would be essential going forward. Recommendations for industrial processes, we would look at variable speed drives and we'd look at control system strategies. There are various routes to Esos compliance. What we would do, we would tailor the Esos assessment towards the client's needs. There are a few ways to compliance. One of them is the Esos audit reporting. So if a client has a number of properties, say 20 properties, we may use a sampling approach in order to look at a few of those properties which have similar factors. If we're looking at it from another angle and the client only had one property and they wanted to look at that property maybe in depth, rather than use Esos energy reporting, maybe they'd use a display energy certificate on that property. This would look at the energy consumption for that property. If a client wants to go and increase their green credentials further, they may want to look at the route to compliance, which is ISO 50001, which could be put in place. My top tips for SECR and Esos reporting would be, let's use Esos as a business case. Let's take it to the financial director. Let's look, does it work? Let's look at life cycle costings and let's see if we can implement measures.